moving on to the Carolina Panthers. What we do here is we go across the entire NFL. We go over the 2024 season, we go over the 2025 offseason, then we give our prediction for said team for the 2025 season. And we are moving on to the Carolina Panthers, who at the beginning of last season we were definitely excited about. We thought they were trending in the right direction, and I feel like after the season that they had, even though they only won 5 games, I feel like you have to feel pretty confident about this season that they had. They went 5-12, third in the NFC South. They did not make the playoffs, and in the division standing, like I said, they just finished third. They edged out the New Orleans Saints for the spot based off of the strength of victory tiebreaker. And then when you look at their schedule over the last, not over the last few weeks, over the entire season, there were some tight losses here for them. They lose by 10 to the Cincinnati Bengals. They lose to the Kansas City Chiefs by 3, where Patrick Mahomes kind of pulls a victory out of his ass. They lose to the Philadelphia Eagles by 6, where if it wasn't for an Xavier Legette dropped touchdown, it looks like that's a game that they could have potentially won. And then they lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by 3 in overtime. Those are the I'm not going to count the loss against Cincinnati Bengals, only losing by 10, but those are a few games that 1, 2, 3 games in a row where they kind of started cooking towards the after their bye week, where they had a really close game against the Kansas City Chiefs, really close game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, really close game against the Eagles. If those are 3 wins for them, I mean they're sitting in a way different spot going into this season.
Yeah, and then even the 2 games before the bye, I mean, I know it's New Orleans and the Giants, but still being able to string together 2 wins and build yourself some momentum heading into a bye week, I think is huge. And ultimately what this season was about was Andy Dalton getting into a car crash, Bryce Young starting poorly, losing the starting job to Andy Dalton getting into a car crash, Bryce Young having no choice but to come back and play, and then starting to look like a competent NFL quarterback throughout pretty much the second half of this season. He really started turning on, and I think he looked a lot better. I think you have certainly a lot to build on with him.
So you obviously just touched on the fact of what this season was for them. It kind of like a prove it season where I'm imagining that's what you said, at least a prove it season. Hello.
I can hear you. Okay, you're good.
I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm assuming that you just got done kind of stating about how this was a season where you like to see some sort of positive growth going in the right way and maybe not a step backwards. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, basically what I said was this season was about Bryce Young not starting off well, losing his job to Andy Dalton getting into a car crash and forcing the Panthers to play Bryce Young again. And thankfully Andy Dalton's okay, but that was the best car crash possible for Bryce Young's career. He ended up playing much better when he came back, and they really have something to build on with him heading into 2025 at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I definitely think that he played a little better. I think that there is still a lot of room for improvement for Bryce Young's game, and I'm a big Bryce Young fan. When I say that, I am rooting for him and I want to see him succeed. But I think that they address some of those concerns in the offseason where you have some guys that you could potentially lean on. But I definitely want to see more out of Bryce Young next season. I mean, he was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. You want to continue to see his game continue to get better and better. I think though now that he's in a situation where he is bolstered up and actually trusted, and he's moving a little bit different. He feels a little bit more confident. I mean, there was a point last season where he got benched and then his ex-girlfriend started like dating Tyrese Maxey. So like I couldn't imagine how down bad I would be if that. I mean, I'm down bad when my girlfriend leaves me and she's not even hot compared to what Bryce Young has. So like, I couldn't imagine if my girl broke up with me and then started dating Tyrese Maxey. I mean, I'd be shook.
Yeah, that has to feel like the whole world is collapsing on you at that point. You're struggling. You're the number one pick. All these high expectations. You're struggling. Your girl leaves you, goes and dates. He's not an NBA star yet, but Tyrese Maxey's pretty good. It just a brutal
With a way
stretch
bigger
of
wallet.
it's just a brutal stretch of months there for our guy Bryce Young. But he bounced back. He bounced back, and you're right. He does have a lot of things to work on still, but at least now you can say, okay, there's something there. We can work with this. Let's continue to build on this. Let's continue to progress because the there were some dark times with him at the quarterback position, and it really was not trending in the right direction.
No, not at all. To get into some stats from this past season, the 20 something DVOA from the Panthers, total DVOA, they were 24th in the NFL. Offensive DVOA, they ranked 28th, 15th passing, and 32nd in rushing, the worst in the NFL. And then defensive DVOA, they ranked 31st and they were 32nd in passing DVOA. Yeah, I mean, this team was a wreck. I mean, that's really all there is to it. This was the worst defense in the NFL last season, and everybody was just torching them and throwing up some big points.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's what happens when you're a bad team is you end up giving up a lot of points. But I think there's things to build on. If I'm trying to just be positive about
I
this,
mean, they allowed 534 points, which was worse in NFL history.
I know, but you have
They
some good
also
players
ranked.
mixed in
They
there on
also
defense.
ranked. They also ranked worst in total yards and rushing yards allowed in NFL history too. So I don't know. This is the real question. Can this defense go from being the worst ever to being like shitty, or is this just a lost cause for this defense?
No, I think that they can get a little bit better. I, I don't know how much better, to be honest with you, but I think they're the great thing about all of that is like you can only go up from here.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously they lose like Derek Cheeseburger Brown. They lost Shaq Thompson. They lost Josie Joel, DJ Wonham, and JC Horn, which I love JC Horn. He's going to be a dog. Um, and obviously when you start to lose all of these guys, it starts to really show. They weren't really putting out the best talent. I look at their defensive roster now. I like some of the additions that they made this past offseason, but this still isn't a great coaching staff.
No, it's not. It's not great by any means, but I like Dave Canales. I think he can get this place trending in the right direction. Um, but I think they did a good job this at least through the draft. I like the guys that they brought in through the draft. But the biggest thing here is there's just a lot of room for growth, and I think that they were able to string a couple good games together towards the end of last season, and it really is going to depend on how they build on all of that, and do they take another step forward, or is this defense equally as bad as it was last year?
I think it could be. Some coaching stuff. Obviously, I think Dave Canales. You got to be happy with what you see from him. It's so uplifting to know that you could potentially have um like an actual guy in the building where it seems like for so long it felt like the owner was just kind of messing everything up and firing people and firing people and firing people. And now it's like, okay, we're in a really good spot now. We have a guy who's competent clearly. And it feels like the owner stuff at this point, it's very obvious that somebody in his life or his PR team or whoever was like, dude, you need to go behind the scenes because
Yeah,
the
you're
Panthers
fucking this
fan
whole thing up.
base are going to hate you forever. So I think all of that is kind of happening at the right time and allowing his coaching staff and everybody to be able to actually be a coaching staff in a front office and not have to interfere with everything.
Yeah, he was trying to be the GM when he clearly just didn't know what he was doing. The video, I'll never forget that video of him in that restaurant, and he takes the hat off the guy that was like in the restaurant with him. I would be furious
Yeah, I
if a
mean
guy did that to me.
that would never happen to me, and I'm sure that
That
wouldn't happen to me.
like that's so disrespectful. It's just absurd. So I think you're right. I think somebody in his life was like, dude, if you want the fans of Carolina to not try to burn your house down, you've got to get out of the media. You have to stop with pretty much everything that you're doing. Let the guys that you hired do their job and go from there. Be willing to invest in the team and let the guys you hired do their job. That's all that you can ask for as a fan if you're looking at your ownership is are they willing to spend money to help improve the team? Do they care about the team? And do they let the guys do their job? I don't really know what else you can ask for as a fan if your owner's doing that. So I think he started to take a step back. I think it's gotten better, but who knows? If he starts seeing success, I wouldn't be surprised if he started popping out and acting different.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to say you should stay behind the scenes no matter what. But to get into this 2025 offseason, they released some veterans, Jadeveon Clowney, that saved them $7 million, Xavier Woods, Shaq Thompson, Johnny Hecker. They cut like a Hunter Renfro, Shy Tuttle, Boogie Basham, Chris Barnes. Is there anybody else that I'm missing here on these roster losses? I agree. A lot of these guys are older veterans. If they don't match your timeline as of right now, and you have potential to even save some money or have some younger guys play, this team's obviously not going to win the Super Bowl this year. So I think that's probably the right move to make.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of trying to let the guys that you drafted play and figure out what you got that way. So I don't think they're going to miss any of these guys. They did just trade Adam Thielen back to the Vikings, so I don't necessarily know who their third wide receiver is going to be on offense as of this moment. Maybe is it Jalen Coker? Is that his first name?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he is in line to be up there as wide receiver 3. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
He's not in line. He is the wide receiver.
Is he? Okay. All right. Yeah, I wasn't entirely sure. So yeah, I think that was probably the right move. Moving on from a guy like Adam Thielen, moving on from a guy like Jadeveon Clowney for the long haul, and letting some of your younger guys play. Because you're right, this team's not going to win a Super Bowl. So what good does it do these younger guys to go out there and just sit there and have these older veterans take reps from them when they're not realistically playing for anything besides potentially trying to make the playoffs?
Yeah. Some free agency additions. They signed Tershawn Wharton, 3 years, $54 million. I believe he was on the Chiefs last season. He's a decent player.
Yeah.
One of the best free agents in the entire class, and in my opinion, is Trayvon Mooring, the safety who was on the Raiders. He's a big time player and a dog. So to kind of get somebody else who's a big time player to be with JC Horn in the secondary, like I love this team, like, or what this team is doing. I don't love the full team in totality, but I love that they're trying to go and get guys who are younger ascending players to go and come to Carolina. And I mean, they're paying for them, and I mean, they signed, so they're clearly doing something right.
Yeah, 2021 second round pick by the Raiders. only 26 years old, so could potentially be in Carolina for years to come if things go right. And I agree with you. I like him in the secondary with J.C. Horn.
Let me take a look here. They also, who else did they add here? Patrick Jones the second, Bobby Brown the third, and Christian Rasboom. Is there anybody else that I'm missing here?
No, you covered it all.
What do you think about
this? Rico Dowdle.
Enrico Dowdle, which obviously that sucks because they took Jonathan Brooks last year out of Texas, who everybody thought that would be like a pretty decent player. And then for him to kind of come back early and tear his ACL, like that stunk, but they absolutely had to go and grab somebody as a second string running back. And I think that their running back room is pretty solid.
Yeah, they added Trevor Etienne out of Georgia in the draft as well. And I thought he was pretty decent at Georgia. So I don't hate that running back room. I think Chuba Hubbard is, I think we covered this when we talked about the running backs, but he's probably like the most underrated running back in the NFL. If you think about it, I don't have his stats pulled up quite yet, but I just know that every time I had him in fantasy, I know that every time that I've had him on my team, and he
played in 15 games He played in 15 games last season. He had almost 1,200 yards, average 4.8 yards per carry, almost a full yard more on average than he had his entire career, and he had double-digit touchdowns. He also had 43 receptions. So, yeah, I talked about it when we gave our top 10 running backs. I put him in like that 9 mark, where if he could take a step up this year, like why not? Why can't he be solidified as a top 10 running back in the NFL? Probably just a little bit more output from him. But we talked about it when we went over the 2024 stats about how bad this rushing offense was. And that had a lot to do with this offensive line who was banged up last season as well. So to be able to just continue to build on the season that he had last year, I think is super important. I think he will be able to do that. There's no reason. The Ike Ekwonu, Damian Lewis, and Robert Hunt core, like those 3 guys, I like them. Austin Corbett is okay, and Taylor Moton is like 100 years old, but these guys should be not the worst. They're not the worst offensive line in the NFL is what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, I think they'll be an improved offensive line this season, and I think I'm expecting more out of Chuba Hubbard, just because I think this offense will be better as a whole too. I think having Bryce Young playing a little bit better will only help Chuba Hubbard out in the long run. So I'm expecting another solid season out of Chuba Hubbard in Carolina.
Completely with you on that. Now to get into the 2025 draft, there were some talks about what potentially they would do at 8. I mean, you could sit here and say like, oh, like add an edge rusher, add best edge rusher on the team. But and ultimately it felt like Tedero McMillan had some bad vibes around him for whatever reason going into the draft. Like some people really hated him. Some people really liked him. They went and they solidified that pick and took him at 8 overall. I think he's going to be a really good player. I was at a wedding in like the beginning of the summer, and I was with somebody who actually works for the Carolina Panthers, and he just had nothing but good things to say about Tedero McMillan. He was like, this dude is an absolute dog. He came in already and is like, he is that guy. Like he is as advertised, and they're super fired up about him. They're also fired up about Bryce Young as well, paired with him. Some other people that they added in the second round, they added Nick Scorton, edge out of Texas A&M. That was somebody who was a borderline first round pick who some people had mocked in the first round. I think he could potentially be a really good player. He's obviously not going to be starting for them, I believe, at this point. Yeah, it looks like
I don't think so.
A second string, but maybe that's somebody that could work his way into the starting rotation and be somebody who could be an impact player. Princely Umanera, I don't even know how to say that. He's an edge out of Ole Miss. Trevor Etienne, Lathan Ransom, Cam Jackson, D tackle, Mitchell Evans, tight end, and Jimmy Horn Jr., wide receiver in the 6th round. Yeah, I think that they had the right mindset going into this. They go and they grab a number 1 wide receiver for Bryce Young to actually pair with him. I think that Also, on top of that, I think really what it says a lot too is Xavier Legette is not great, and I think that's fair to say. I don't think that that's going to be somebody that they want like for the long term. And then on the other side of things, to go back to back edge in the second and third round, like I was just saying, like I thought they should have took edge at the top of at the eighth pick, but they go and they sure up that spot in the second and third round, which I love to see them do. Now it's just, are these guys good players?
Yeah, yeah. I love the Tet pick. I think that him and Bryce Young are going to be great for years to come together, and it's cool to hear that the entire like good things about him from the guy that you know within the Carolina Panthers organization. Um, there was two guys on Texas A&M that were potential first rounders, Scorton and Shamar Stewart. So I feel pretty good about him. I think he'll be probably a decent player too. And then um, just going off the entire Ole Miss like defensive line as a whole, I think they had two or three guys that were drafted relatively high. That was a really solid defensive line last year that Lane Kiffin was working with. So I like the pick there. I already mentioned earlier about Trevor Etienne. So I'm a fan of these first four picks. I think they were smart to go out and grab two defensive ends. I like Trevor Etienne complementary within this backfield with Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle. And then I don't really know much about the rest of these guys. The only other guy that I know is Jimmy Horn, who pretty much just felt like a deep threat at Colorado in the few games that I saw him play. They were obviously throwing it all over the field. So I don't really know how good he is. I don't know if he's making the roster, but that's the only other guy that I
No,
recognize from this draft.
He's made the roster. They've already made roster cuts.
Yeah, I didn't know if he made it or not. Is
Yeah,
what I was. Good for him. Well, yeah, I like their draft. I thought they did well. I thought they addressed certainly a point of need by going out there and getting a wide receiver. I think Legette, you definitely don't want him to be your wide receiver one for the foreseeable future, but I could kind of see him sticking around as like a low end two, wide receiver three. But for now, I think the most important thing is
my prediction on Xavier Legette is he's on a different team in
you think
like by next season. I just don't think he's very good, to keep it real with you. At all. So, but not to be negative, but let's go into some win total stuff. Like going into the season, their win total currently sits at 6.5. The over is -130. The under is at +110. For them to win, conferences, here it is. Sorry, I'm on my iPad currently looking at this. To win the division, excuse me, they are sitting at +410, sitting behind the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To win the conference, which these have to be juicy odds, they are sitting at +5,000. And where's the Super Bowl at here? For them to win the Super Bowl this year, if you're a big Carolina Panthers fan, they're sitting at +12.5K. Obviously, I don't think that that's going to be the case at all. Something that I do like, honestly, though, is for them to make the playoffs at this point. That is sitting at that's sitting at +250. We talked about it last year. This team won 5 games and they were abysmal on both sides of the football. And we look at their schedule that they had last year, and they took some of the league's best teams, the league's 2 best teams, down to the wire. Guys who went to the Super Bowl, the Eagles who won the Super Bowl, they were a dropped pass away from beating them. You have to feel good about this team going into the season. And in this division, it feels like everybody is just kind of shooing in the Buccaneers, shooing in like the Falcons as that team that could potentially win the division. And it's really quiet about the Carolina Panthers. If they could just stay healthy in the trenches and on defense, are they able to win 8 to 9 games? We talked about it when we previewed the Falcons and the Bucks. This isn't a dominant type of division. Like, there's no team that's going to come out and win 13 games and be super dominant like in the NFL. At least I don't think so. So I think that if you like the Panthers a little bit, like at plus 250 for them to make the playoffs, I don't think there's a non-zero chance that this could be a potential playoff team.
Yeah, they also play the 7th easiest schedule, which is just part of being in that division. But on top of having the opportunity to play the Falcons, the Bucks, and the Saints, they also get to play. Wait for it. They also get to play the Dolphins. They play the Seahawks. They play the Jags. They play the Cowboys after the type of trade that they just made, and the Jets. So there's certainly a handful of games on their schedule that they can win, and I think that's probably what plays into this win total. I think there is a realistic shot that they could win 8 games, given the division that they're in, 8-9 games, and sneak into a playoff. But the defense has to take a step forward, and I think Bryce Young has to play similarly to the level that he played at the end of last season, which I don't necessarily think either of those things are that crazy of an ask. Their defense was really bad, and it would be shocking if they were the worst defense in NFL history again as well. So I think there's a realistic world they could be a playoff team.
Yeah, I think so too. Really, let's just go into our 2025 predictions here. I think that this team is going to be sitting at 8 wins, 7 to 8 wins. I think that that's a completely fair assessment of where this team's at. I want to pick them to go over that edge and make the playoffs, but I'm just not quite there yet. But I do think that this team's going to be a lot more competitive than they were last year. And really, I think what indicates a successful season for them is just if the duo of Tetero McMillan and Bryce Young could be something, and I'm not saying that it needs to be like the best in the NFL, but when you go out every single week, like these guys are actually like doing damage and putting up numbers. I think that's the only thing that you want to see out of this team this upcoming season. Is to just continue to watch Bryce Young grow as a quarterback in in the NFL, which I think he can do. So I'm picking them to win 7 games. I think that they can win 2 more games than they did last year for sure, and that might even be a little bit underselling what this Panthers team could potentially be.
Yeah, if you're picking them to win 7, I'll take them to win 8 games. Having this Dallas game on the schedule after the trade that they just made adds another element. Seeing the Jets on the schedule adds another element for some games where they could potentially steal. I mean, and obviously they could steal a game against the Packers. They could steal a game against Buffalo. Like, this team plays up to the competition based off of last season, the last half of last year. So if that's how they're moving in 2025, like, they could definitely come out and steal a couple games. But yeah, I got them at 8 and 9. And if they don't make the playoffs, the only thing that you can realistically look for in this Carolina Panthers team is, like you said, is Tet and Bryce Young building chemistry. Is Bryce Young stacking good games? And then is this defense taking a step forward and not looking like Swiss cheese? So
Not
obviously
being the worst
Panthers
of all time.
Yeah, Panthers fans, shoot for the playoffs, set that as your goal. I think you'll end up winning. I think you'll end up falling somewhere around that. But don't forget, 3 years ago, you won 2 games. So come a long way.
They're definitely come a long way. And I think that it's fair to like the future of this team. I mean, if Bryce Young could take that, not that next step as like a holy shit, this guy's like a top 10 quarterback, but if he can get to the point where he's like, okay, this guy's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, this guy's a top 13 quarterback in the NFL, then it's like, okay, we are continuing to build on this and build on this and build on this. And I think that's just the most important thing that you could possibly do right now. It's not like that he came into a roster that was fully stacked, like how some of these other guys are. This roster was extremely decimated. So I think that they're building it up the right way, and it just takes a little bit of time. I like the direction that they have in Carolina finally.
Yeah. Last year we probably jumped the gun on them winning like 7-8 games. And that's okay. This year we're on the 7 to 8 game win train. So Carolina fans, we're riding with you this year, as we did last year. I don't know what your like team saying is, but like I would say it right now.
Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. So that's all you got to do. Just keep pounding.
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stacks and bring it back, man, and take vision.